Hey there everyone, this is my wrap-up for the month of July. So for the month that just passed, I read 4 books and change. The change is what you'll find out in a little bit. Now, I continued my marathon read of Anne Rice's Vampire Chronicles in July with Vittorio the Vampire. This book is actually the first book that I read ever from Anne Rice back in high school. It was in my high school library, so I picked it up and read it. And back then I really enjoyed it. It was well enough that I started reading every single book of hers I could come across, except for the erotica books, of course. And it's great. I was happy to have my own copy, happy to read it again. Now, I'm very thankful for what this book did to bring me to Anne Rice's writing. You know, I'm really happy about that. I don't regret it at all. I did not enjoy this book upon reread as I did originally when I first read it. My enjoyment level of it actually dropped enough that I rated it 2 stars. I thought it was going to be maybe a 3, but there's actually a lot that happens in this book that I'm not very fond of, and now that I'm older and I have more life experience and more reading experience, I can see the flaws and I can see the holes. And this is kind of, I don't want to make that comparison, but I will because there are some easy comparisons to make. It's kind of like a variant of Twilight in some ways. Not as bad, granted, but still kind of bad. I still think it's a good book to get into if you are just trying to get into Anne Rice's books, though, because it's very easy to read, other than the fact that the titular character is a vampire, and this book talks about him becoming a vampire. There is no other connection to the rest of the series as a whole, so you can just read this book, and then if you don't like it, you can just put it down and not have to worry about missing out on anything if that's something that bothers you, which is good. It was as being my first book, I thought that was very good. I don't like it when I read the first book in a series and then, I don't like it, but then there's the rest of the series still in front of me and I'm just like, not a fond of it, but I'm kind of curious about this. Nah, it's just like, there's nothing of that to try and keep me attached, so it's still a good choice for someone who's brand new to her books. Now, in terms of manga, I read Volume 3 of Sailor Moon. Volume 3 finished the Dark Kingdom arc, the first arc of the manga, and began the Black Moon arc. For those of you who are only familiar with the 90s anime, the whole alien arc with Alan and Anne actually did not happen in the manga. It was strictly a filler arc because the animation had caught up to the story of the manga, and they needed to give Takeuchi time in order to finish the Black Moon arc before they continued. So this just goes directly to the Black Moon arc, which is good. I wasn't really fond of Anne and Alan, honestly, or his Japanese name is a bit weird, but in any case, I'm happy with how the Dark Kingdom arc ended. It was an ending preferable to the anime ending, and I'm not just talking about like the bad Deke dub from back in the day, just in general. I did like the 90s anime, don't get me wrong, but I do. Manga is best, just saying. I'm still a bit of a manga purist, with good reason. And in fact, it doesn't just go a little bit into the Black Moon arc. There's actually several things that happen with the Black Moon arc in this book. Some stuff that, because the anime has filler and whatnot. If you see Sailor Moon Crystal, you know how quickly paced it is. But there's still at least a little bit of an indication of a passage of time between the end of the Dark Kingdom arc and the start of the Black Moon arc. So you know that some time has passed between them. So That part is good, so it doesn't seem too quick. I can tell the quality in the art has gone up by this point as well, more in line with what I saw in Codename Sailor V, which is very good. I prefer that. Overall, this volume is just, out of the first three, it's definitely the better one, it's the stronger one, and I definitely look forward to my continued read of the Black Moon arc. The second manga volume I read was Black Butler Volume 5. This is the second and final volume of the Indian Butler arc, in which Seal Phantom Hive and Sebastian Michaelis assist Indian Prince Soma in trying to figure out what's going on with his butler Agni, and trying to get his former friend and Crush Mina back, which is the reason why he came to England in the first place. I remembered some things about the plot from having seen the anime and having read this originally. There was some really good character development for Soma by the end of this book. And he's still around, so he didn't go back to India by the end. No doubt there'll be more shenanigans from him and Agni in the future, and I look forward to it because I think they're pretty good characters. Not the best, but they're good. So, young adult books are something I don't normally touch, but for my one book by a Black or other author of color, I decided to read A Blade So Black by L.L. McKinney, and I really liked it. I really, really liked it. This is quite an incredible book. This is part of a trilogy that is an Alice in Wonderland retelling. Alice, she's in high school, of course. She's on the cover here, very pretty. The author had a certain amount of say on the cover too, which is very nice. So the start of the book is really rough. This isn't exactly a spoiler because it's in the prologue, but Alice loses her father, and she comes into contact with these black beasts called nightmares, and she meets who would be her trainer and companion, Addison Hatta, which, based on the name, I think is a reference to the Mad Hatter or something, or at least it sounds like it. And the whole point of the book is that she is going back and forth between Wonderland and our world. The way Wonderland is interpreted in this is a dream world that all humanity is connected to. And this dream world, if humanity is happy and positive and lots of good things going on, Wonderland is a beautiful paradise. It's a wonderful place. But if there's a lot of negativity, if there's a lot of death, people don't have nice dreams and so on, it becomes a bit nightmarish at some parts, and these beasts called nightmares appear. And Alice becomes a dreamwalker. A dreamwalker is a human who is capable of seeing the nightmares. And the whole point is that she goes into Wonderland to defeat the nightmares before they can seep out into our world and cause damage. And the point is that they can't leave Wonderland and come into our world, or they get stronger. So, it's very interesting how this is all sorted out. There are lots of interesting characters in this book. Alice's relationship with her two friends, Courtney and Chester, or Chess for short, and it's very, very good. I love the banter back and forth. I haven't been in high school for a while, but I know from my teenage coworkers and their interactions with each other that the banter in this book is definitely very close to how teens actually act these days, so that's really good. The book doesn't shy away from certain racist topics and issues, because, this Alice is a black girl living in our world, in the US, and, that carries with it some uncomfortable and unfortunate realities for her. And it's not graphic, but there are references there, including an event that happens in the book that is of a character whose name is very, very close to another recent tragedy that has occurred. I will talk about that bit more in its own review video, because I will be doing a review video for this in the near future. Just so much about this book is great, and the more I sit on it now that I finished it, the more I feel great about this book, and the more I really want to read its sequel. Its sequel is available and out in the world, but currently only in hardcover. The paperback version doesn't come out until like April next year or something, so it'll be a while before I read more in this series. But I am very happy I bought this book. It's definitely becoming one of my favorites, for sure. I will definitely be talking about this one towards the end of the year. Alright, so now I'm going to talk about this book, The Historian by Elizabeth Kostova. So I am pecking away at this book a little bit at a time because of how big of a tome this thing is. Not Brandon Sanderson big, but still pretty big. I finished reading the first part of the book. So chapter 25 is the first chapter of part 2, which puts me at page 185 out of 676. It's not a bad book, okay? I'm just going to put that out there right now. It's not a bad book. However, out of having read 184 pages of this, it's not that much has gone on over that 184 pages. So it's one of those books where there's a lot of description, including a lot of relaying of information from fictional historical documents that exist for the purpose of this book, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's kind of nice to have all that information, but it's every single time a new letter or a new piece of paper gets added, the author felt the need to actually type out every single line of what was in it and put it on the page. Which is okay for the first little bit, but then after a while it starts getting old. Like, there's only so much of that you can do. I'm hoping now that I've hit part 2 that it starts picking up the pace a little bit, because if it stays that slow throughout the whole book, I'm probably not going to have a very high opinion of it. I'm okay with the slow beginning as long as the rest of the book goes up from there. I don't know, we'll see. It's alright, but it's definitely not, so far, from what I've read so far, it's not going to be in my top books at the end of the year type thing. Alright, there you go. There's a rundown of the books that I read for the month of July. I look forward to seeing your thoughts in the comments below. And with that, I would like to thank you for watching this video. I post a new one on Tuesdays and Fridays. Have a good one, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!